before we began, I thought only a few minutes into that. I just want to assure you that if you practice meditation every day, even if it's only for 7.5 minutes a day, if you did that for the rest of your life, it would completely and radically change your life. And it will become so blissful. It just makes the rest of life, everything in comparison, just become very dull compared to the joy of meditation. I mean, even this evening, you can hear the horns honking outside. There's children running in and out, and everything on the outside is a little chaotic here. But on the inside, in each one of us, there's always a haven of peace it's eternal. It's immortal. It can never change. It never goes away. We just have to learn how to go inside and access that. Anyways, today's topic is very fun, and let's get into it. The title is Many Are the Pathways to Truth. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. On the dedication page of Swami Kriyananda's book, The Path, appears the following account. A group of Paramahansa Yogananda's disciples had gone with him to see a movie about the life of Gyandev, a great saint of medieval India. Afterwards they gathered and listened to the Master explain certain subtler aspects of that inspiring story. A young man in the group mentioned another film he had seen years earlier in India about the life of Mirabai, a famous woman saint. If you'd seen that movie, he exclaimed, you wouldn't even have liked this one. The Guru rebuked him. Why make such comparisons? The lives of great saints manifest in various ways the same one God. The Bible contains a similar account in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 9. And John said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followeth not with us. And Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. The more central a truth, the greater the number of contexts in which it can be applied. Truth is like a pure white light, containing within itself the full spectrum of the rainbow. Let no one tell you what your path to God ought to be. Many are the paths. Select your own according to the dictates of your own nature, no matter how out of step that puts you with other people. Sri Krishna in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, trying even unsuccessfully to fulfill one's own spiritual duty, or dharma, is better than pursuing successfully the duties of others. Better death itself in the pursuance of one's own duties. The pursuance of another's duties is fraught with spiritual danger. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Okay, so the first point that I want to make here is about the fact that God manifests in many different gurus. Because, at least before I came on the spiritual path, I wondered so much, why is there so much suffering in this world, and why can't the religions just agree? And they say that if you want to have a nice dinner party and invite guests over and have it be sociable and calm and peaceful, the two things not to talk about at that dinner party are politics and religion. Because religion is the one thing that people just can't agree on. And the strangest part is, it's the thing that is supposed to unite us all as a planet or as a race of human beings. I should say a species, I guess, but whatever. And yet it's the thing where you see it divides us the most. And people do crazy things and start killing other people, all in the name of a God who's supposed to love us all, a God who is love. And here, now this becomes a very important point, is that it's not, fanaticism is not needed, but very much loyalty to a guru or to a particular spiritual teaching, it is needed. And that's the thing, that loyalty then turns into fanaticism with people who don't understand, and then it absolutely becomes no good. But the loyalty is the thing that I want to talk about. Paramahansa Yogananda said that loyalty is the first law of God. And here's the strangest thing, that as you stay loyal to one teaching or to one guru, that the more you merge your consciousness and your understanding, your wisdom, into the wisdom of that guru, the more you see, yes, it is all one. That this guru is saying the same thing as this guru, and this guru is saying the same as this, and these people don't even call themselves gurus, but they're just on their same way to understanding that God is joy, God is love. But the more you try to put it all together yourself by reading different things, and read a little of this book, and then read a little of this book, and think that you're gaining more and more wisdom, the more confused you get. And so, do you see how subtle that point is? Because our soul, our heart, longs to not only see the unity in everything, and understand how all the masters are saying the same thing, our soul longs to feel, to become that oneness of all different paths, and see how it all fits together. And that's a longing in every single human being. Some human beings will express that longing more than others, but it's a part of our soul. Our soul is trying to get back to that oneness. And so we all want to see how this whole thing goes together. But then the irony is we have to become loyal to one specific path, and then in that loyalty, we will gain it. It's almost, you gain it afterwards. At first you do the hard work, and then you gain that. Another thing that I want to mention on this topic is a very real example that I was talking with a friend about the other day. And in our particular path, Paramahansa Yogananda, that he says to pray for other people. Swami Kriyananda said to pray for other people. I'm going to take a little bit of an aside here, and I hope I bring it all back together. But once there was a time when Swami Kriyananda was very sick, and there was prayer groups organized all over the world, and so each center would take a 1 hour of a 24-hour segment or something. And somehow we made it all work out where everybody was praying continuously for Swami Kriyananda. And one of my friends, in the beginning he thought, I don't want to go to that. Swami Kriyananda is a saint. He's a highly elevated being. He's just taking on karma for other people. He doesn't need me to pray for him. But he thought, well, I'll go to this prayer gathering or whatever anyways, just because he didn't really know why. He just decided to go. And he said about 3 minutes into it, that he was praying for Swamiji, and then 3 minutes into it, he goes, aha, I see what this is all about. I understand your trick, Swami Kriyananda, that the more I think about you, the happier and full of bliss I become. Whether I'm praying for your physical body or whether I'm thinking you for whatever the reason, if my mind is on you, then I get filled with your bliss. And that it wasn't that Swami Kriyananda was benefiting at all. It was the people praying for him were benefiting. A very interesting story my friend told me. Anyways, coming back to the initial point that I was going to make is that, so our lineage says pray for people, pray for people. There's another lineage that says don't pray. That you just have to understand that God is taking care of everything. And that will put you out of tune. That if you start to think that, oh, God doesn't know what he's doing, and now my egoic prayer is necessary. And so you have one master saying prayer is necessary. You have another master saying, don't pray. Just accept everything as God's will. And, well, it's much easier if you just choose one or the other. And this will bring us to another point later. But everyone is individual. And even if you read a little of this and then you read a little of that and you want to see how these two things can come together, well, in this particular instance, that if one feels to take the path where he's not praying, that in his heart he has to have that compassion for every human being as if that human being was himself. And if he doesn't have that compassion, he needs to develop that compassion. So that other master who was saying don't pray wouldn't have said don't feel compassion. Just become dull and don't pray and just say, oh, who cares, let them suffer. We all deserve it, or it all will work out in the end. That compassion, that attitude has to be there. And this is where it all comes together. That the masters, no matter what lineage, that they all have the same attitude. They all have underlying currents of consciousness, of understanding that is exactly the same. The difference is that they manifest them outwardly differently. Anyways, if you're one of those people who contemplated that question on prayer, and I bring it up because I did also, I was told on this path that I've been following for 15 years to pray and pray and pray, but part of me felt like everything is just quite all right. But I came to realize that's true, and I do need to have that feeling as well, but there's many different things that we have to balance. Because I also see other people start praying fanatically, and they're so worried, oh my gosh, this might happen, that might happen, oh, we have to pray, and it's like they've lost their inner center as well. But I was on the other side where I was quiet about it, and but I didn't have that cheerful bliss, that attitude also of compassion, and a desire to see everybody live up to their own highest potential. I was hiding behind other spiritual truths in order to still have a hardened heart. And we want to have a soft, open heart that is open to God, and we want to be feeling God and feeling everything, and that's going to also come into the next point here. So another thing here is that this morning, all of the monks, we were here in the office doing our duties during the morning, and an interesting conversation came up, and that was the question that we were answering spiritual questions via email. And someone had asked, when I go on the internet and see this Kriya and that Kriya and this many, how do I know what is the right Kriya? And the answer that was discussed this morning is the right Kriya is the Kriya that your Guru gives you. And that becomes a very interesting thing. Different Gurus will say different things about everything. And so it's vital, really, on the spiritual path to have a Guru and to follow what that Guru tells you to do. Because the Guru can, first of all, he can see if he's a true Guru and beyond are omnipresent in all three worlds and even beyond that state of consciousness. He can see, first of all, he can see all of your karma, which is way more than the average human being can see. We can kind of put it together a little bit. Maybe we have a good astrologer, we get a little wider glimpse, but most people can't see all of their past incarnations and get a really good feel for the mistakes they've made and how to avoid the traps this time around. So a Guru can see all of that karma, but then more importantly, the Guru can know how to put that karma together. And that's where real wisdom comes in. When you know that you have all of this different karma, but the Guru says, let's put this one and then this one and then this one, and then you'll be a Jivan Mukta, and then you can deal with all this craziness over here and over here. But if you're just going at it on your own, you think, okay, well, I have this desire, and all desires must be fulfilled, so maybe I'll just work this one out, and then it'll lead you, and then it'll lead you over there, and you've completely forgotten that you're trying to go back towards God quickly. So the Guru tells you what your karma is, yes, and then how to put it together. That it's very important to stay loyal to a Guru. I love Sister Gyanamata's words, and those are, say, whenever the Guru tells you to do something, say yes and make it snappy. And in my own experience with Swami Kriyananda, that if he asked me to do anything, I would do that exact thing. But then sometimes I'd go home or leave the room. Oh my, how am I going to do that? This makes no sense. But every time that I did my absolute best to do his will and not my will, everything turned out way better than I could ever imagine. And even in the process sometimes of those projects that he would give, that I certainly had to pray for guidance in the middle of it and keep attuning myself. That you must attune yourself to a being who's higher than you, who has the spiritual wisdom that you want. Okay, the next point here is that spiritual teaching really is unique, and that each one of us is unique. So we were talking about how important it is to stick to one Guru, but now you also have to go within your own self. You know, the Guru, he doesn't just lay it out for you. I made it sound like that earlier, like, oh, just do A, B, C, and then you'll be a Jivan Mukta, and it'll be all good. He makes you learn your own lessons and figure things out yourself. And sometimes he knows the easy way, and he knows you might stumble, but he'll never let you fall. That he will let you stumble sometimes because it makes you stronger. But all of this is to say that the Guru is not going to tell you exactly what to do. That many times you have to go within yourself, pray inwardly to the Guru, and feel out what is right here. What does God want me to do in this situation? And then you have to do it. And so this is where things become very highly individual, because And it's another very interesting thing on the spiritual path as you stick on the path and you start meeting all of these different high souls. Not everybody learns all of the lessons A, B, C, D. All of our karma, they're all individual, unique. And so some people might learn their karma C, B, A, other people D, E, A, and all these different combinations. So you see people who are highly advanced souls, and they've learned most of the lessons, but sometimes they have this glaring defect, and you're just wondering, how is this guy, a highly advanced disciple? This is just not making any sense. But it's just the way it is. But now, the thing is that you have to go within and you have to feel out what is right and what is wrong. You can't just follow the masses in this world to know what is right or wrong. In fact, Swami Kriyananda says that most of the people are wrong most of the time. And if you look at the average person in humanity today, that most of the things that the average person's doing to find happiness in this world, they simply don't work. You just take a quick look at it and you realize that's not going to work. But you have to let people learn their own lessons. You have to respect others' free will. The Guru also respects everyone's free will. So you can't look at the masses to know what you need to be doing. Okay, so then you come on to some spiritual path. But even then, it's normal human nature that you're looking around, what are my fellow Guru Bhais doing? How's he doing it? Or, he meditates for this amount of time and then he energizes. But this guy energizes and then meditates, and you think, now which one's more spiritual? Which way should I do it? But to thine own self be true. At some point you have to go within, you have to ask the Master, Master, do you want me to energize and then meditate? Or meditate and then energize? And then it can't be a dogma. That it has to be what is your own truth. And it again becomes a tricky matter because you can get so far into, well, this is my own truth here, and I just got to do it my way, and boom, there goes the ego again, and you're lost again. And you're thinking, well, I was just listening inside. The Master told me I needed to do it this way, but you were a little bit too much in your ego. Or you can be too much into what are the crowds doing, or you don't know what to do, so you're just kind of looking around and doing what everybody else does, and that's not right either. You have to very sensitively begin to listen. So we don't want to become too eccentric, and at the same time, we want to make sure that we do have this individual connection with God, where we can learn to listen. It is why it's nice to be in a spiritual community or have a spiritual group of people that you walk the path with, that as you get too far out there, that they'll just kind of look at you and say, maybe you might want to come back in, you're kind of out in the forest over there. And yet, even still, if you really deeply feel that you need to be doing this or that, I'd say do it. Now, that is, let's say your guru has left his body and you're listening deeply on the inside for your guru's guidance and everybody else says do this one thing. The reason I say that, well, let me back up. If your guru's in the body and he's telling you what to do, don't even think twice about doing your own thing, because you have a direct channel, a direct connection with God himself. The guru is God. And God's telling you exactly what to do. Even the little subtle things, you need to just do it. But if your guru's not in the body, if you're trying to listen to him sensitively on the inside, and everybody else is telling you to do this thing, or you feel deeply your guru's telling you to do the other thing, do it. And laughing, what's the worst that could happen? Well, maybe you get a few hundred more incarnations that things went really wrong for you. But even that, in the end, it doesn't matter. Because time is an illusion. And being afraid, you can't live your life in fear of how many more incarnations might this thing cost me. Don't live in fear. Live in joy, live in love. Live in attunement with the Guru. And the only way, honestly, you're going to learn how to be in tune with the Guru is by making mistakes. It's true we don't want to make big ones, okay? Learn small, like anything else in life. But you have to be you. And you have to go your own way. And your own way to God, that is. There are certain guidelines or certain things that happen variously, and you can keep checking in and seeing, are you generally going the right way? And of course, it's always good to check with others who have more experience than you. But honestly, So few listen to that little inner voice that tells them the right thing to do. So few listen. But you don't need to be like that. You can listen, and you can learn to listen perfectly. Once Master said about Rajarsi Janakananda that the reason that he was progressing so quickly was he knows how to listen. One of the last things that I want to talk about this evening is the reading from the Gita there, and that is that to do your Dharma is much better than doing somebody else's Dharma. And so obviously the first question that comes with that is, how do I know what my Dharma is? And again, the answer always comes back to the Guru. That if you have a Guru living in the body, that Guru will tell you exactly. You can ask the Guru, what is my Dharma? This is interesting. Swami Kriyananda, early in his association with Master, he asked Master, what do you want me to do in this entire incarnation? And it's funny because Master left his body at age 59, and Swamiji, I think, was 20-something, 25 at that time. So Swamiji probably asked him this question when he was 23 or 24, I don't know exactly. But even normally for a 23-year-old around a 59-year-old man, you're not going to be thinking, what if this guy dies tomorrow and I need to know exactly what to do for the rest of my life? But Swami just tuned into that right away, of asking right away, what's my Dharma for this entire incarnation? That is the mark of two things. One, of a soul that has been with his Guru for many incarnations and knows the importance of when my Guru leaves his body, what do I need to do for the rest of this incarnation? Because once he's gone and you can't ask him, there's going to be thousands of people giving their own opinions, but maybe none of them are right. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up about that, and that is that this relationship with the Guru, it's not just going on, it's been going on for many, many incarnations. Because if he's really a Guru, and he's really your Guru, he has vowed to come back as many times as you mess up, and come back again and again and again until you achieve liberation. You have no idea what a promise that is that they make. Once they're already free, and there's so much joy as you climb the inner ladder of self-realization, and to say, okay, I'll come back. Basically the lowest depths of hell in this physical plane in order to help you out. It's a huge thing. So Swami tuned into that and asked him, now, let's say you don't have a Guru in the body. What are you going to do? How are you going to know what your Dharma is? Again, it comes to listening sensitively. It comes to trying to feel what? Actually, one thing that Master said is that try to remember what you wanted to do when you were a little child. That often we bring these samskars over, and when we're little children, we kind of already have a clear path of what we're going to do in this life. But then we start listening to all our friends and what our parents want and this, and which job is going to make more money, and who cares how I feel about it, and suddenly things get very, very mixed up. But often if we can go back to when we were children and try and think about what type of profession or what we felt our Dharma was at that time, that will give us a good indication. Of course, the obvious way, if you're a devotee, is to meditate deeply until your mind and heart become very calm. Then pray to God and ask Him to tell you what your Dharma is. And then listen. Listen very sensitively after you do that prayer. And then whatever you feel, you have to act on it. And now it's an interesting topic because normally when you think of one's Dharma, you're thinking of something that they're supposed to do for an entire lifetime. That you're thinking, like Swami Kriyananda wrote books and lectured because Master told him to, and did editing for his entire incarnation after he met Master for 50-something years. Maybe 60 years. So it's a big question. I mean, certainly you want to listen sensitively and not say, oh, I'm going to be an artist and try that for 3 months and then, oh no, I think I was out of tune, and go back in, and then I'll be a banker for 3 months, and then I'm laughing because that was the beginning of this incarnation for me. I searched for everything in order to try to find joy. But even in that, I feel that I was just paying off little bits of desire, little bits of karma of, okay, I'll try this profession. No, that's not it. Okay, I'll try this profession. No, that's not it. Until finally I realized that the outer thing doesn't matter, that my profession was to find God. My profession was to seek God. And please remember that this is the highest dharma for every human being. So if you're confused about your duties in this world, don't worry. Just make sure that you're doing everything that you can to seek God. Remember Christ's words. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added unto you. So even right understanding of what your duties are supposed to be in this world will be given to you in the proper way if you're doing your best to act not for ego consciousness, but do your best to act for God, your best to serve others in whatever way is appropriate in your place in life, and everything will turn out absolutely good. Another point about that Gita sloka is that sometimes it's much easier to do the dharma of other human beings, but it's simply not the right thing. That you have to do your dharma, that you are an individual, just as every snowflake is unique, just as every atom is dowered with individuality, that you have to do things in your way. You have to learn in your way. That it's not enough just to watch how somebody else did it and then think you know how to understand it, how to do it. That then you too have to do it. That there's one thing to study in this world, there's another thing to do. And we learn faster by doing. And it's true also on the spiritual path, but you will grow more quickly by taking whatever theoretical knowledge you gain by reading the scriptures or being in tune by studying whatever your path is, and then by doing. That we want to become channels in this world. We want to be channels for love, light, and joy. And that is not a passive thing by any means. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to let the light of God that is within you shine in the way that it's meant to shine, especially in the days that we're living in now. That the world needs your love. The world needs your light. That there's other souls who are just waiting for you to share the joy that you found in even seeking God, not even to speak of finding God. Even the joy you found in seeking God. If you will share that with others, you will climb even higher spiritually, and you will gain even more and more joy. So again, we'll end with the Greek proverb, to thine own self.